the central highlands of Vietnam, the real Vietnam. Classic examples of culture and landscape are all around us. And what I want to show you today are some of the changes that Vietnam has gone through, particularly over the last 100 years.
Vietnam has an ancient culture, the result of many different groups who occupied its land for the last several thousand years and adapted to its landscape. These traditional living spaces reflect that, and many of them would still have been in use a little over a century ago. This beautiful church, built in 1906 by the French, represents a shift for Vietnam. For the first time, rather than people adapting to the landscape, globalization and industrialization meant that Vietnam started to change its landscape dramatically. People started to move from the countryside and into the towns and cities. The increasing population in Vietnam, fueled by industrialization over the last century, has meant Vietnam has placed greater demands on this beautiful environment. And it is beautiful. Now, where once this land would have had tree cover as far as the eyes can see, much of it is being turned over to agricultural and commercial use. Vietnam is in a race to develop and improve the lives of its people, but this changing land use comes with other long-term consequences. With its temperate climate, Vietnam is a place where biodiversity should thrive. Already, much has been lost, with even more at risk. Vietnam, then, has changed from a country of people who adapted to its environment to one in which the people have adapted the environment. They've taken away much of the natural protection against erosion and flooding, much of the natural biodiversity, and time is running out in order to reverse this. In fact, Vietnam needs to look more towards its long-term future than its short-term development goals. These cash crops are the final great example of how, even though green leaves grow, little else does, and a wide, diverse environment cannot be supported unless long-term planning overturns short-term development.